Hi, everybody. Welcome to Fat Product Review. This is Crystal. Hi, Jen. Hi, Sam. I'm so honored and excited. First of all, I have two of my favorite fat activists, two of my favorite people just on the planet, and excited to talk with them both because they both do such important things. And today, we're going to talk a little bit about Jen and her business, Plus Mommy. You guys, if you ever follow me on Facebook, you probably recognize me sharing her stuff because I love her posts, her podcasts, her content, her blogs, all about plus size birth, plus size pregnancy, plus size fertility, and all that good stuff. So welcome, Jen.
Thank you so much for having me, Crystal.
Tell everybody how they can find you.
Sure. So I have the Plus Mommy podcast that's at plusmommy.com, available on all podcast apps. And then I have a site if you're plus size and trying to conceive or pregnant, all things plus size pregnancy over on plussizebirth.com.
Very cool. And for those of you who've watched other episodes of Fat Product Review, you probably recognize Sam. I know Sam is very shy and she's such a wallflower, so we like to give her a little shout out every once in a while because we know she needs a little love. Sam has talked with us. First of all, we did talk about anti-chafing shorts, which is an awesome episode. But also, Sam and Jen love Disneyland. So in the future, we're going to do another interview about how Disneyland is fat friendly. Although we're probably not going to be going to Disneyland anytime soon, thanks to the pandemic. But yeah, and then Sam it's very interesting too. There's a tie-in here besides Disneyland and being fat and fat activist. But Sam wants to or is going to school for midwifery and is going to become a doula and all kinds of other stuff. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself, Sam.
Yeah, so hi guys, everyone. So yeah, Sam Ray is here. You can find me on Instagram at the Lady Ray. So I actually found Jen through Crystal, and my husband and I were trying to conceive for a very long time, and I wasn't finding helpful information being plus size in the medical field, and Crystal introduced me to Jen's stuff, all of her blog. At that time, it was just a blog and a Facebook group, and it's so amazing to see how it's just grown. And I cannot tell, I'm getting chills right now. I cannot tell you how much her information and her resources are so helpful and also just like encouraging to be like, you can get pregnant and there's ways that you can be a parent while being fat, and it's okay. And you don't need to settle for less. You don't need to be treated with any less disrespect than a normal size person. And so so it actually encouraged me to become a midwife. So I'm in the process of studying to become a midwife, to advocate for birthing parents of size and birthing parents of color, because sadly, we are not treated the same in the maternity field, and that needs to change. So yeah.
I mean, like thinking about Black women and pregnant, Venus Williams, right? I mean, this woman has all the money and all the resources in the world available to her, and they still treated her like a third-class citizen, like wasn't listening to her. She knows her body, of course. Like I think, Jen, you advocate this out a lot. You know your body. You know, you sometimes you have to just take that little whatever it is you think of about doctors and think they're so amazing. Sometimes they're not, and sometimes well, they're human as well. But you have to advocate for yourself. And like even Venus Williams, I mean, she almost died.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, women shouldn't die in childbirth anymore. It's not 1775, okay? So when you're in a hospital, like in a huge city, and you have all these resources, and still Venus Williams almost dies, I think that's definitely a testament to what you're having to say there, Jen or Sam, because, yeah, I know that fat women and then fat women of color, just like you get treated like shit when you're in the hospital.
Yeah, and that's like the other biggest thing. Like, yes, women shouldn't be dying, or birth parents should not be dying at all, regardless, like with our new medical and, the world of medicine that we're in. But even more, like, people of color need to have the same access and the exact same care and be treated and offered and listened to the exact same way as as the other patients that are not of color. So,
yeah. The statistics are pretty shocking, especially for people of color during pregnancy and birth. And we can look just specifically at people of size, and we see that if you have a BMI, sorry, are you guys hearing that feedback, or is it just me and my earbuds?
I just hear it
in your earbuds.
No, I hear it.
Oh, you do?
You hear it. Should I turn it off? That way, let me try to just turn off. Sorry, I know you don't want to edit this, Crystal. I apologize.
It's okay.
It's okay.
I just don't want there to be bad feedback.
Wonder why it happened all of a sudden.
The aliens! They're coming back!
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Also, Jen, can I just say your makeup today is so gorgeous.
Thank you.
So you were talking about statistics. Do you know any of the statistics off the top of your head?
Yeah. So I should also mention that I'm a certified childbirth educator, and I've been doing this work for 9 years. But when we look at the statistics of people of size and cesarean birth, it's astronomical. So if you have a BMI over 40, it's almost 50%. And if you have a BMI, I think it's like over 50, or 55, it's almost 80%. And so I'm not afraid to say that care provider bias against people of size plays a role in that astronomical number, because people are being told that they have to have a cesarean birth just based on their size, and there's no evidence behind that. So I do a lot of work around teaching people how to connect with size-friendly care providers, because that's the biggest difference I've found in outcomes for maternity care.
Yeah.
So let's just go back to the very beginning with fertility stuff. Like, fat women have been getting pregnant since the dawn of time, right? So why is there so much concern about a fat person getting pregnant or helping them with their fertility? Like, we can have babies. We've been doing it for a long, long time. Like, what's the deal?
We also know there's a societal bias, right? So we know that a care provider comes into their work with their own bias. So while people of all sizes can get pregnant, people of all sizes struggle with fertility. And we know that, when you have a higher BMI, we see people having PCOS or some irregular periods and things that they can go to an endocrinologist and talk to and address. But when you exist in a larger body, you're often told, I'm not even going to look at a hormonal imbalance or any reason why you might be having problems with even just miscarriages until you lose weight. And so that's clearly biased healthcare. While we know that the fertility industry markets themselves to people of advanced maternal age, and people of advanced maternal age have increased risks, just as well as people who exist in larger bodies. So there was a great article in the New York Times kind of exposing what's been happening in the fertility industry. And it's really rooted in a lot of shame, I think, and biases. And there needs to be a lot more done to change that.
Big time, big time. And then birth, again, we've been giving birth to babies for a millennium. Why do people think it's going to be so different for us than it is for someone who lives in a smaller body, as you say?
Well, we'll go back we should go to pregnancy first. There are some increased risks. And I don't think that we should ever shy away. I'm a big fan of evidence. I'm sure Sam is too, going to school to become a midwife. But it's how that evidence is presented. So people of size are also often told, and we can look at like gestational diabetes. You will incur gestational diabetes. It's like a given, basically. When we actually look at the evidence, we see that a person who has a BMI over 40 is 4 to 5 times more likely to incur gestational diabetes than someone with a BMI of 18.5 to 25. But what does that mean? What does 4 to 5 times more likely? And you'll look at that through all of medical care as people of size. We're always told we're at a much greater risk. It's 5 times more likely. So what your care provider is doing is they're telling you your relative risk, which is comparing one rate to another rate. They're not telling you your actual risk. So next time you go to the care provider and they're like, oh, you're so much more likely, be like, oh, that's interesting. What is my actual risk? odds are they're not going to know that number offhand. I mean, if they do, great. But when we just look at gestational diabetes, the increased risk, it's about 17%. Not 50, not 70, not 100. It's 17. So I like to flip the script and say that if you exist in a larger body during pregnancy, you have an over 80% chance of not incurring gestational diabetes. And there's no fixed number, because if you focus on nutrition and physical activities, studies show we can reduce your risk even more. And so that's, again, why it's so important to connect with a care provider who believes in your abilities to have healthy outcomes, because the odds are ever in your favor.
Yeah, because that headline is not clickbait. 83% of fat women will not get gestational diabetes. I mean, they only want to make it sound, so exaggerated to get people to click on it. You're 5 times more likely to get gestational diabetes. That's not the case, right? That's not the actual numbers, but we get this all the time, don't we? So anyway, so Sam, did you get forced to have a cesarean?
I almost did. So I actually, so like I said, I got pregnant, and I actually was known as the one that made a stink in the office, not because I tooted or anything, but my healthcare provider at first wanted to make me do extra glucose tests because of my weight. And they didn't look at any of my pre-existing blood work. They didn't look at any of my blood work like during my pregnancy, but it was just because I was overweight. And it wasn't even just like one extra glucose test. It was like every other month doing glucose tests. And first of all, I ain't got time for that. Two, if I don't need it, why do I need it's because I'm fat that you guys are thinking that I'm going to get, gestational diabetes. And so I from the get-go, I advocated for myself, which I encourage all birthing parents of size and color to do, because at the end of the day, you need to be listened to. This is your body, this is your child, this is your pregnancy, and you are your biggest advocate. And you, like we were talking about earlier, your body, and when something's wrong and when something's right. So that was I was always that person when they walked in the office. I was like, let's see what shit I can stir up today.
Oh no, it's that lady again.
But so when I went into labor, I went from 0 to 60 real quick. When I went into labor, I had my first contraction at 1 a.m. and by 4 a.m. I was 8 centimeters dilated. And this was my first kid. So that's pretty fast. I was ready to go, and so when I got there, I was, by the time I got to the hospital, I was about to go in transitional labor and stuff. Sorry. And, I was just throwing up all the place. And the doctor came in and said, oh, well, I think we're going to have to do a C-section. And I looked at him and I said, what?
Yeah. Why?
And he was like, well, your blood pressure is really high. And I looked at him, and I literally could have not fallen in love with my husband even more. He looked at the doctor and said, you haven't even looked at her damn chart, then, have you? Because I've had extremely low blood pressure my whole pregnancy. I've always had extremely low blood pressure. So right off the bat, this doctor came in and saw that I was fat and was like, okay, I want to get this girl on the operating table, for her safety and the baby's safety. And so
yeah, exactly.
yeah. And so oh yeah, you didn't see my quotes because I was and so so they were about to start prepping me, and I said no. No, you are not. I said, unless my child's heart rate is dropping or there's something wrong with me, my heart rate's dropping, I'm going into shock or something, you are not cutting me open. That's not an option. I said, I will change positions. I said, we will change every position, but don't be twisted. If my child's life or my life is at risk, I will go under. But until that point, no. I ended up pushing up my child in 9 minutes. Literally, another doctor came up to me and was like, your body is made for having children. Your body is made for bearing down children. I said, yo, can you go tell your colleague that? Because homeboy was trying to get me on the operating table, and that shit ain't gonna fly,
No.
But what I that's what I tell people. I knew my body. My partner knows my body. And that's why I say, advocating for yourself, is so important. And I know it's so scary. Like, it is one of the scariest things that you can do, but it's also one of the most important things you can do, because like Crystal and Jen were saying, like, they just see us as a fat body. They don't look into our charts. I feel like a lot of the times they just automatically come with what is the word?
Predetermined
Thank you.
ideas.
Thank you.
Biases.
Biases about us.
Yeah.
And it's like, this person didn't know that I was walking like 2 to 3 miles a day to like get ready for childbirth and stretching and eating all my fruits and vegetables and taking all my prenatals and taking care of my body. But they saw a fat body and automatically went, oh, she doesn't take care of herself, she's lazy, you know? And so
it's so hard unless you're like, because I'm just going to say all three of us are kind of loudmouths. So we're comfortable advocating for ourselves. I don't give a shit what they think, you know. I just know. But not everybody has that, unfortunately. So I know it's more intimidating for some people, but it's really awesome if you have a friend or a partner with you, because I can tell you, they don't treat you as shitty when someone else is there to witness it. So
Yeah.
it sucks. It sucks we have to do that sometimes. But Jen, you had Braden vaginally, right? Did they try to get you to have a C-section?
No, and just going back to what Sam said really quickly about gestational diabetes, the recommendation is to be tested twice. So it's at the very beginning of pregnancy. They're not looking for gestational diabetes. They're looking to see if you're already pre-diabetic or diabetic. So if you just had your annual exam and had your blood test run and you know your A1C, then you can present that information and say, here's this information. I don't think I need to be tested for this. And then you're going to be tested again when everyone is tested for gestational diabetes past the 24-week mark. So that's something to know. If you're being tested every month, that's not evidence-based, and your care provider has a size bias. So that's something to be very aware of. I had to pop in. And I'd say with birth, one thing that stands out as something different when you exist in a larger body is that we know there are studies to prove that it can take longer for you to progress during labor. And if we just allowed people of size to have a little bit more time, we'd probably see a reduction. We would see a reduction in the cesarean birth rate, and we have the studies to show it. So there's a lot we could talk about, but those are things I just wanted to pop in there and say. And
yeah, that's great.
You can hire a doula, and that self-advocacy is so important. But me personally, I was about 5 months pregnant when I was doing water aerobics with a friend of mine who was a much smaller person, and she had said she hired a doula. And I was like, what's a doula? As we're doing our stretches.
What's a doula?
And she's like, oh, it's someone that's going to like support me educationally, physically, and emotionally. And I was like, how do I get a doula? So I hired a doula, and I wanted an unmedicated birth. So I wanted to have no epidural or any pain meds or anything, and as natural as possible. And she was like, so you're with this OB at this hospital, you should have a home birth. And I didn't trust my body, and that wasn't for me. I totally respect if it's for anyone else. And I ended up switching to a midwifery practice with a hospital, and I had a completely healthy pregnancy, and I gave birth on my knees.
Yeah,
girl. And it can happen, but it doesn't happen for people of most sizes, that they're allowed to go natural and to have the type of birth that they want. So please know that I support you, whether you want all the medication available or none of it. What matters most to me is that you're treated with evidence-based, compassionate care.
And to speak on the doula, so a lot of people actually don't know this, but there's a lot of women's groups, and there's a lot of birthing groups and birthing support groups that actually people volunteer to their time to be doulas. So that's a great resource if financially you can't provide, if you can't afford to get a doula, because they can be expensive. And I know there's a lot of midwifery programs now too that do the same, and you could also get like scholarships to help with that. I know here in Northern California, where we're at, Kaiser, they're actually starting to bring midwives into all of the birthing floors if it's not like an emergency situation or a high risk situation. And high risk, they're actually looking through all of their charts and like pre-existing conditions. So that's exciting to see like that turn. But there are options for people to be able to afford to have these support systems. And doulas are great. Like Crystal was saying, for people that are a little more shy or, get a little nervous to speak up for themselves, doulas are an awesome middle ground to have someone be your advocate, or even like a birthing coach. I was my cousin's birthing coach, and I took some classes and I did a lot of research through like birthing coaching websites, certified birthing coaching websites. And I flew out for her birth, and I went over her birth plan with her husband and her, and I was someone that they trusted. And that's why they had me there, was because I don't give a fuck what I say to the doctor. Excuse my language. But
okay.
I will, and so if you have a friend that's in that position and you're willing to have them in the room with you, I know things are different right now with COVID, sadly, but that's also an option that you could look into, and you could talk to your provider about, finding the resources to give to that birth coach to help train them. So that's
Jen,
also an option.
Before we talk about your website and your list of your doulas, I want to just clarify. You said you had your baby on all fours, but also in a pool?
No, just
okay,
on my knees.
But pool birth, girl.
I know, that sounds nice.
I have another one. That's it.
Yeah, water birth, it can be incredible. I did labor for hours in the bathtub, so that was wonderful. Hydrotherapy is awesome in labor or on a Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Well, and then how Jen was saying how she birthed on all fours, I feel like that's another thing too that a lot of people, they kind of just feel like when they do deliver, they need to be on their back with their legs in the air. But
that's how they do it on television.
Exactly. But there are so many great positions and tools within a hospital room or at home that you can use to help open up your hips, to help birth. Like Jen on all fours, that's a great position.
It was like the bed was propped up, so I was kind of on my knees. Here we go. I'm on my knees, leaning forward. So propped up. So I'm just on all twos, but think of my booty hanging out here, and then the baby comes out here. So did you guys get that?
And if you think about it, that's more natural. It's with the way of gravity. I've had friends, bathtubs, birthing chairs. I've had one friend actually that was like standing up and like squatting almost, and she had a bar. She really liked that. My sister put her leg above her head and push your baby out that way. So there's a lot of different ways to move your body in order to allow that like opening of a flower to let the baby come out. So
yeah, that's so cool. I think the standing up thing is, I think, kind of an ancient thing too. I think that's how women had babies a lot before modern medicine and stuff. But Jen, I'm very aware of your website and your list of the size. What's the term you use for your doulas, your website?
Size-friendly care providers and size-friendly listed.
Where can people find that?
So you can find everything at plussizebirth.com, and then I have sizefriendly.com for the listing, but you can find it all, as well as a free guide on how to connect with size-friendly care providers over on plussizebirth.com.
Very, very cool. And tell us about your ebook.
Sure. So after doing this work for so many years, I get the same set of questions over and over again. So I wrote a book called The My Plus Size Pregnancy Guide that answers everything you could ever want to know about being plus size and pregnant, from how we just talked about the increased risk, and we kind of broke it down in a way that you could understand and you could advocate for yourself, to where in the heck do you even find plus size maternity clothes and around photo shoots. And how to connect with that size-friendly care provider, looking at different facilities to give birth at, how to advocate for yourself. All of those things are in this guide. And then since I'm a podcaster, I took the book and I turned it into an audio book as well, because I know we're all so busy and don't necessarily have time to read. So you can either get the guide or the audio book that comes with the guide, and all that's available over on plussizebirth.com.
Very cool. How much is the audiobook?
The audiobook is $39, and it includes the guide and the audiobook. I think it's almost 3 hours. I talk a lot, but you'll learn so much.
Yeah, all three of us, I know we're just so shy.
I would like to say, so I had Jen's first version because this is the second version, correct, Jen?
Yeah, I just updated it. I try to keep it updated, so I just did a huge revamping of it. So the guide itself is $24.99, and I did a huge revamping of it just this year. Thanks COVID for the time.
But I used your first guide when I was pregnant, or when I was trying to get pregnant, and like I said, like Jen and I connected actually a week after my daughter and I like talked on the phone a week after my daughter was born, and I was like starstruck because I'm like, oh my gosh, because I literally cannot tell you enough how much that guide helped me and just gave me so much comfort and not feeling alone. Like there's so much, especially like being plus size and pregnant, at some points you almost feel alone because one, you don't look like all your other pregnant friends. You feel like you have to jump through hoops. It's not as easy as just going to the store, picking out a nursing bra, just going to the store, picking out a baby carrier. Like you have to get like extenders and all this stuff. But like your book prepared me for all of that. And your book really, really did help me. So for all of our like parents out there or people that want to become parents, I cannot stress enough how amazing this handbook is. Like it gave me so much comfort and be like, it's gonna be okay. I can do this. Like, I will get through. So
I mean, that's what I can hope for, right? Like I always say, it's my goal to no longer be needed. I hope there comes a day when resources like mine and the work that Crystal does is no longer needed. We're always going to need great midwives, Sam, so you're good. But
job security.
The advocacy work that we have to work so hard. I mean, Crystal, we've been connected for almost a decade now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it's like there's been some good shifts, like a lot of good shifts, but in healthcare, nowhere near what we've seen around like society as a whole changing. So I'll be around for a bit longer, but it means so much to me that you say that, Sam, because I worked to create everything that I couldn't find when I was plus size and pregnant. Like I never thought I'd end up becoming a certified childbirth educator and traveling the country speaking, and to have the opportunity. I got to speak at the National Institutes of Health in front of like leaders in maternal health care, and to know that there is an interest in hearing about the consumer perspective and wanting to know how care providers can do better. It gives me a lot of hope. I never thought that this would be my life, but it just goes to show when you're passionate about something, and like Crystal's work and Sam's work, like you can make such a big impact in so many other people's lives, and it's really rewarding. So thank you.
My whole thing is like, I hate to keep thinking of everybody reinventing the wheel all the time, you know? So I'm like, between you and Sam and me and all of our other friends in the PAC community, we have so much information. And I'm like, sometimes I think, oh, haven't I shared that before? You know, like whatever tricks and hacks I have to get through a day. Because like Sam said, when you're fat, you have to jump through hoops for everything, right? I mean, to buy clothes, to see a doctor, to get your annual exam, to go anywhere, to fly anywhere. It's like you have to jump through a million hoops. And the world's not prepared for us. And so I hate to think of people not knowing all the stuff I already know. I'm like, here, just let me blurt it out to everybody so you don't have to keep reinventing the wheel, you know?
Well, you, Crystal, are an amazing advocate for so many people. Your support for me for so many years means the world. So thank you.
Crystal's a badass. I forget.
You're doing such important work, both of you. I'm so
She doesn't know this, but when I came up here to get ready for this, and I was looking at my bookshelf, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally have Crystal and her tips around hot sex, which is so related to pregnancy, because hello, amazing orgasms when your body is flowing with so much blood. So when you're pregnant, your blood volume goes up. But yeah,
you have the best orgasms when you're pregnant.
Crystal love. Could you give everyone else love? So get this on Amazon.
Dude, that book is freaking awesome.
You guys are so cute. Thank you so much.
Oh, girl, yeah. Ooh,
that's why I created this new channel, because I'm like, I know so many amazing people, and they all have so much information, all in the fat community. So I'm trying to interview everybody because I want to make a repository where everything's in one place. And like you want to learn about sex or pregnancy or horseback riding, like, you know, fat people can ride horses. Yeah. So I did an interview with a lady who's a horsewoman, and she's like, yeah, horses weigh like 2,500 pounds. You're going to be okay on the horse. I was like, really?
Wait, I was 2 years old when I realized, wait, really? We can ride horses? Okay. I'm ready.
Yeah, she's like, they can handle anybody on a horse. You're not going to hurt the horse. I was like, are you sure? She's like, yeah, I'm sure. So, anyway, I just want a place where everybody can find stuff. They're looking for stuff because we all have so much in our heads. Jen, you're such an expert. I mean, you have such great knowledge. Everybody wants people that want to become parents and who are having fertility issues. And, people are getting treated like shit. It's so sad. It should be such a special time in your life. And then you have to worry about all the medical assholes. And honestly, sometimes I see that there's progress is being made, but I get sometimes so sick of settling for breadcrumbs. It's like, damn, can some of this can't go a little faster?
Yeah. Well, and it's like, why do we have to settle for breadcrumbs? Like, we're humans too. We deserve every amount of respect and dignity. And that's
that sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
we don't have to settle, right? Like we speak for dollars, and actually, labor and delivery is one of the main ways hospitals make a ton of money because most people end up paying that bill in full. So we need to continue to speak for our dollars and speak with our dollars. And so if you're mistreated, Yelp that care provider everywhere. Like put it online, connect their name to bad reviews. But more so, if you're treated with compassion and dignity, Yelp those people everywhere and write those great reviews. So we, as plus size people, know where to spend our money and our time because healthcare is something that most of us pay a lot of money for, and we shouldn't just hope we're treated with dignity. We should expect it.
Exactly. Amen, girl. Yes.
I have a fantastic gynecologist in Campbell, California here. And I never thought to write a Yelp review, but then Marilyn Wan is like, well, you've written her reviews everywhere. But I was like, God, I never thought of that. And so I did. She never ever brings up my weight. She never ever, it has nothing to do with me at all. I'm there for my annual exam, my breast exam. I just have the normal parts like everybody else, even though I'm fat. And she just does all her stuff. And then she gives me my results, and it's just like nothing. Like I'm just a normal human, not like
as it should be. Yeah, exactly.
It's weird though. It's like I'm like,
it is weird.
When's it coming? When's it coming? It doesn't come.
It's coming.
I know it's coming. But I mean, like all of us, I'm always prepared, right? Because I'm ready. I'm ready with my armor because I know someone's gonna say some shit that's not evidence based at all, and they're gonna make me snap, and I'm gonna go off on them. So it's so nice when it doesn't happen. But yeah, it's a good point, Jen. Leave reviews for the really good ones too, but also leave reviews for the shitty ones.
Mm-hmm.
Why people know what they're getting into.
Yeah, I actually went on to a bag care provider recently, and I also went onto their Facebook page and left reviews because it almost alerts people more. And I was like,
you gonna hear from me today? Yeah.
Jen, what else should people know? Like, what else do you think that there's just not? People have no idea to even ask for or to think about, or they think assume something like you can never bring this up or whatever. Like there must be some stuff like that we're just like scared of.
How much time do we have? I think those main things is that, that we're just automatically going to be classified as high risk from the beginning. And ACOG, which is the governing body that sets standard for maternity care, they don't set that. So if you have a care provider that's like, oh, well, you're high risk because of your BMI, that's kind of a red flag. It doesn't always mean that they're not size inclusive, but if you're being sent for a bunch of extra testing when they can't give you a good reason why, then I think it's important to ask. I know it's really frustrating to find maternity clothes that fit larger bodies and nursing bras especially, but they do exist and there are some great size inclusive brands out there. And so I have tons of resources over on Plus Size Birth. And I think one thing that we don't talk about enough is just embracing our bodies, embracing them today, right? But like, especially during pregnancy, I hear so often from people, it's the first time they touch their belly with love. And we hold often so much shame in our bellies, right? Because we've been told that we can't touch our bellies, we can't love our bellies. And so, I mean, today, everyone touch your belly and love your body and all the things. But especially during pregnancy, it's this time to rewrite all these narratives we've been led to believe from how we feel about our bodies, but also how we approach nutrition. Because I hear also from many people, pregnancy was the first time I didn't diet in my life, right? So you don't want to be dieting ever, but you especially don't want to be dieting during pregnancy. So all of these things that we've been taught, pregnancy is an amazing time to unlearn them and to really be your own best advocate.
Absolutely.
One thing that like pregnancy taught me was I loved my body, but I didn't realize how amazing my body was. Because
Yeah.
for so long, I was always taught like, oh, you're fat, like, your body's less than. But it's like my body is growing a human and another organ, might I add, another organ too, is growing a human while keeping myself alive, while waking up every day, walking, driving, like all of these like things that we take for granted. And I know when I was pregnant, I really tried to focus on that. And like every day I would say thank yous to my body, like just little things like, you know what? Thank you for my belly button today. I like it today, or thank you for this, or thank you for allowing me to carry this child, and I would say about like around 18 weeks or so, it really hit me that I was like, I am bringing a child into this world and I don't want them. I want to break that cycle of stinking thinking, of body shame, of, shaming other people for their bodies, and I really was like, it starts with you, Sam. It starts with you, and it starts with the way you think and what you put out in the world. And so I really made that conscious effort to make that change, because you are the change that you want to see in the world. And I want my daughter to know that she is perfect the way she is, exactly the way she is. She doesn't need to change for anyone, change for herself. And I thought, how can I tell her that if I'm here in the mirror picking myself apart or not standing up for myself and advocating for myself? So I really took my pregnancy as like the start of a new chapter. I mean, it is, you're having a baby, but my pregnancy was my, my intermission, my in-between chapters of growth. And then when the baby got here, it was like, okay, here's a new chapter. It's go time. And I really felt like that's helped me become a very loving parent. Like, and also just like a more stress-free parent, because I'm not worrying about all of like, do I look okay in this outfit? Do I look okay wearing my baby? Are my back rolls showing while I'm wearing my baby? Like, I don't give a crap. Like, I'm bonding with my baby. I have my skin to skin. And that was something too that like my husband said that he was like, I've never seen you take off clothes so fast. Like, as soon as I got into the hospital, I literally stripped down and was like, I was walking around butt naked in my room, because that's what I wanted. Like, that's what I needed. That's what I was comfortable in. And I wouldn't have probably done that earlier in my pregnancy. You know what I mean? Because it's just, I was still learning to love and appreciate my body. So if that's any advice that I could give a parent that's pregnant or is looking into getting pregnant, is just really work on embracing your body and being thankful for everything that it does. Because it truly is a miracle and a beautiful thing. Like, childbirth is amazing. I love it.
So that made me think of one last thing I want to talk about before we wrap this up. So I know I'm going long, but I knew this would go long because this is such an important topic. But
of course. Just wait till the Disneyland episode.
Oh my God, yeah, leave an hour for that one. But so I don't know a lot about pregnancy. I've never been pregnant. I've never had a baby. But there's something about the difference of the bellies, like the B-shaped belly or whatever. What is that related to being plus size?
So it can be more common when you're plus size, but someone can have a B-shaped belly at any size. I think society, pregnancy magazines, Hallmark movies have informed us that pregnancy looks one way. Only thin Caucasian people who self-identify as women become pregnant, which is the farthest from the truth. And you've heard Sam and I say pregnant people or pregnant parents. Like, we really want to be inclusive, that it's not just white ladies that get pregnant with perfectly round bellies. That's a bunch of bullshit. So
they have a basketball under their shirt.
Yeah, right. But while still validating that thin white women get pregnant, yes. But we really want to spread the message that pregnancy looks different for people of all sizes, shapes, colors, abilities. We have marks, we have birthmarks, we have stretch marks, we have bellies that look more like bees. That is far more common for people who exist in larger bodies. And we have apron bellies that hang lower. We have all the bellies, all the things. And that's okay, because whatever your belly looks like is your normal. And there's no purpose in comparing. I remember when I was pregnant at the same time as 3 of my friends. And it was like skinny friend, average size friend, and plus size Jen. And it was so beautiful to be surrounded by friends that love me for me. And I'd have lunch often with the medium-sized friends. And we go in the bathroom, go out to, a restaurant. We eat on our breaks from work and have a nice lunch together. And then we go in the bathroom and we show each other our bellies, because I didn't feel safe doing that with coworkers or other people, but with my friend. And my friend, even though I didn't look pregnant for months and months and months, would be like, oh, wow, look, it looks beautiful. It's changing. Or look, we're both popping. And it just felt amazing to feel included in that experience. So that's a message too for people who don't want to be parents, aren't parents, or who have been parents forever, to really love on your plus size pregnant friends, because we don't get that much anxiety. There's not like strangers running up to touch your belly, because most people don't realize that you're pregnant, or they don't acknowledge that you're pregnant. So that's really important too. But yes to B bellies. I had a B belly. B stands for beautiful too. So there we go.
Yeah. I had a very high, long D belly. Like, my child decided to sit literally, like, my tits were like in my face. Like, and the doctor was like, your baby's extremely high. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I can barely breathe.
I can't breathe. I know.
But another thing too, going off what Jen said. So I've had a lot of friends that are plus size get pregnant after I've gotten pregnant. And one of the number one questions that I get, well, 2, is, when will I show? And I say that's different for everyone.
Yep.
My sister showed, like, she's plus size. She showed at like 5 months. I didn't show till like 8 months, and that's fine. And then the other question I get is, will I be able to feel my baby kick? And I say, yes, you will. Whether you're skinny, medium, plus size, whatever, you will be able to feel your baby kick. Like, it is a special bond that you get to have with your child, and your baby kicks, it will kick you. It will kick you at night, in the morning, and it will play tap on your bladder. So don't you worry, you will feel your baby kick, just like every other body.
Longer, right? It's just
What'd you say?
It just takes longer to exist in a larger body. So while your friends who are pregnant might feel movement early on around 17 weeks, and you're like, wait, why haven't I felt? What's wrong with me? Is there something wrong with my baby? No, like Sam says, it's different for everyone, but I've done surveys, and for the majority of people who I surveyed, it was around the 20 to 22 week mark that they started feeling movement for those who exist in a larger body. And it also depends on how your placenta is positioned, and a whole host of other things, but most people do pop and do look pregnant in one form or another nearing the end of pregnancy, and nearly everyone can feel movement. So don't ever hesitate to reach out to your care provider if you're worried, especially if you haven't felt movement and are concerned about it. But for any reason, there are no silly questions. So
yes, I was just about to say that. There's no silly questions. Ask all the questions.
No.
I would make lists and lists and lists on my iPhone and literally just check
them
as we go.
When I go to my doctor's office, I'm like, hang on.
Yeah.
I got my list. I don't want to say too, I thank you both for your commitment to being gender neutral, because I was noticing that parent word and I was like, I need to stay away from the woman word. So I appreciate
you're fine, Crystal. I mean, it took me a long time to start saying pregnant people. So I think if we just all acknowledge it, well, yes, we can still say pregnant women, but just trying to be inclusive, I think it's really, really important. But it took me a long time. So
I picked up on it though, and I loved it. And I thank you for saying I think it's really beautiful, because
asterisk on my nursing school applications, because I refer as pregnant people, and every person that edited my essays would like cross it out and put like women, and I'm like, no. And so just to be safe, I put a little asterisk at the bottom and said, like, I refer to pregnant people because it's not only women that can get pregnant. And so I think it's also just a change, like Jen said, like in society, Hallmark, all this stuff, we see these typical like pregnant bodies, and it's going to take a while, but you just make the cautious effort, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah. I appreciate it. That's why I want to let you guys know I appreciate your general, what do you call it? Gender neutral wording. I think that was really, that's lovely. We all have to start somewhere, right? It's time, way past time actually. So Thank you both. You guys are both so amazing. I love you both so much. And thanks for all the work that you both do. I appreciate it. Everything you guys put out into the world.
Thank you. Well, we appreciate you too, Crystal. And thank you for bringing this conversation onto your platform as well. I really appreciate it.
Of course, of course. Thank you, Sam.
Thanks. So I love chatting with you ladies, especially
No.
God,
We'll do Disneyland and then sex next, okay?
Oh yeah, because
Sex
sex
first.
leads to babies.
All right, take care, y'all. And if you like this video and you want to learn more, make sure you like, subscribe, and make comments and all that good stuff. Yeah, it helps so much to keep this going. I appreciate it. All right, ladies, take care.
See
Bye,
ya.
friends. Bye.
Bye.